Thunder rolled over the capital as Marcus gripped the hilt of his sword, his hands trembling despite years of discipline. He whispered, "This isn't justice. It's slaughter." Torches hissed in the rain as soldiers dragged a prisoner through the square. Lucius, the emperor's trusted officer, sneered, "Do it, or be branded traitor." Marcus's breath faltered. The prisoner's eyes mirrored his own despair. The crowd gasped, pressed against the shadows of ancient walls. Elena clutched her cloak, fear twisting her face, praying he would refuse. Cassius lingered nearby, his smile sharp as a dagger, waiting for weakness. A drumbeat echoed, each strike a hammer, on Marcus' chest. He raised his blade, torn between duty and conscience. He felt history pressing down, every choice a fracture. Blood pounded in his ears, louder than the storm. The prisoner whispered, "Don't become what they are." Marcus froze, the empire's weight balanced on his shaking arm. The prisoner's whisper echoed in Marcus's ears, long after silence fell over the square. He staggered back, blade still dripping with rain, not blood. Lucius barked orders, his voice breaking through the storm. Soldiers moved with mechanical obedience, dragging the condemned away. Elena hurried through the panicked crowd, searching Marcus's face for defiance. Cassius brushed past, cloak swirling, whispering, "Weakness is death and death spreads." The square smelled of wet iron, torches sputtering like dying stars. Marcus's heart raced as thunder cracked overhead. He thought of the empire, rotting from within, each decree more ruthless than the last. His duty clawed at him, yet something deeper screamed louder. The faces of the people, hollow, hopeless, burned into his mind. He clenched his jaw, knowing this night had shifted everything. Fear had a new shape, and rebellion whispered like the storm. Marcus found himself in the barracks, the storm still echoing in his head. Armor clattered as soldiers sharpened blades, preparing for battles not yet declared. Lucius entered, eyes cold as iron, and growled, "You hesitate again, and the emperor will see your head roll." Marcus turned away, sweat mixing with rain still dripping from his hair. Cassius lingered near the doorway, voice oily. "Every empire cracks when loyalty wavers." Marcus snapped, "You speak of loyalty as if you know it." The words cut sharp, though his chest tightened with fear. He remembered the prisoner's plea, gnawing at his soul. The empire's cruelty seeped into every command, every silence. Outside, thunder faded, but drums from distant hills rose, announcing rebellion's breath. Marcus clenched his fists, torn between chains of duty and whispers of conscience, knowing both paths led to blood. The marketplace, once alive with shouts and laughter, lay deserted. Stalls stood half-toppled, fruit rotting in puddles. Elena hurried through narrow alleys, cloak heavy with rain. She whispered to herself, "Every street is emptier, every shadow louder." A hand grasped her wrist. Marcus, eyes burning with conflict. He muttered, "The city suffocates. Tell me, Elena, how long before we drown?" She answered, "Not long if fear keeps ruling." Cassius appeared from behind a stall, smiling faintly. "Fear rules best when hope hides." His presence sent a shiver down Elena's spine. Citizens peeked from shuttered windows, whispering of rebellion and betrayal. The air stank of smoke drifting from distant fires. Marcus tightened his jaw, saying, "We cannot wait for mercy that never comes." Elena's heart pounded, as Cassius' smile lingered like a threat. In the great hall, fire sputtered weakly against damp stone. The emperor sat upon his throne, crown glinting dimly in the torchlight. His voice boomed, "Rebellion is a disease, and disease must be cut out." Lucius stood beside him, stern and unyielding, while Cassius knelt, words dripping honey. "My emperor, cracks spread faster than fire. Only ruthless hands can mend them." Marcus, summoned among officers, felt his heart pound in his chest. Elena, hidden among servants, clutched her skirts, watching the emperor's gaze sweep the hall. The walls seemed to echo with the empire's decay, every torch sputter a reminder of fragility. Marcus swallowed hard, thinking, Power feeds on fear, but fear cannot last forever. The emperor raised his hand, and silence smothered the chamber. Every breath waited on his decree, every future balanced on his will. The barracks were restless as whispers crawled through stone walls like fire through dry straw. Marcus polished his blade, though his hands shook more from unease than fatigue. Soldiers spoke of rebellion in hushed tones, their voices sharp with fear. One man muttered, "The drums are louder each night." Another answered, "Soon they'll march on the palace." Lucius entered, boots striking like hammers, his glare silencing the murmurs. He barked, "The emperor tolerates no treachery. Speak again of revolt, and you'll hang before dawn." Marcus's chest tightened, his silence louder than any word. Cassius leaned against a pillar, lips curved in sly amusement, whispering, "A kingdom built on fear has already fallen." Marcus's jaw clenched, torn between duty and the truth, laid bare. The storm outside rattled shutters as if the world itself warned of the empire's breaking spine. Elena moved quietly through the palace corridors, the scent of damp stone clinging to her cloak. A faint cry caught her ear, pulling her toward a side chamber. There she froze. A boy lay crumpled beside two slain guards, his wide eyes reflecting terror. He whispered, "They killed them for nothing." Elena's heart clenched as she knelt, brushing hair from his face. "You saw too much," she murmured, trembling. Cassius appeared in the doorway, shadows framing his grin. "The innocent see clearer than the blind," he said, stepping closer. Elena shielded the boy, her voice steady, though her body shook. "Leave him." Cassius tilted his head, mockery gleaming in his eyes. The corridor outside echoed with distant screams, rebellion already clawing at the palace walls. Elena clutched the boy tighter, knowing innocence could not shield him from history's cruelty. In a dim tavern, smoke curled above half-empty mugs as Cassius leaned across the table, speaking to cloaked men with eyes like daggers. He whispered, "The emperor grows weaker, and chaos is our strength." One man slammed a fist, muttering, "Then strike now before he finds his courage." Cassius smirked, "Patience. A drowning man thrashes hardest before sinking." Outside, rain battered shutters, masking the deal sealed within. Marcus stood in the street nearby, hearing fragments through cracks in the wood. His stomach twisted as he recognized Cassius's voice, silky yet venomous. He whispered, "The empire rots from inside." His hand reached instinctively for his blade, but fear held him still. The tavern door burst with laughter from traitors, each sound heavier than steel. Marcus clenched his teeth, knowing the betrayal was no longer a rumor. It had a face. The courtyard smelled of wet earth as Lucius assembled his men, his voice sharp as steel. "The emperor demands loyalty, and loyalty is tested in blood," he declared. Marcus stood among them, heart hammering, when Lucius dragged forth a trembling villager. "This man gave bread to rebels," Lucius growled. The villager cried, "I fed my children, not traitors." Marcus's throat tightened as Lucius thrust a sword into his hands. "Prove your loyalty," Lucius commanded coldly. The soldier's eyes bore into Marcus, waiting. He froze, every heartbeat a drum. Elena watched from the shadows, lips parted in horror. Cassius' grin stretched wider, hungry for Marcus's fall. Marcus whispered, "Mercy is not weakness." Lucius barked, "Mercy is treason." The storm swelled above, lightning flashing as Marcus stood at the edge of decision, his soul caught between honor and survival. The messenger's scroll slipped from trembling fingers as Lucius unrolled it before the emperor. His voice thundered, "Rebellion confirmed, my lord. They march upon us." The emperor's eyes narrowed, crown gleaming faintly in torchlight. "Then we drown their fire in blood," he hissed. Cassius bowed, lips curling, crushed them swiftly, and their whispers die forever. Elena lingered with other servants, eyes wide as the hall filled with tension. Marcus stood rigid, his stomach burning with dread. He thought of the villagers, of the boy, of the prisoner's whisper. His heart screamed that bloodshed would only feed the flames. The emperor rose, cloak dragging across the floor like a shadow swallowing the chamber. No mercy, he said, voice carrying doom. Every word echoed through Marcus' bones as rebellion's storm drew closer, inevitable and merciless. Marcus sat in the dim guardroom, torchlight flickering over stone walls damp with rain. Cassius entered quietly, his tone smooth as silk. "You hesitate because you care too much," he said, sitting close. Marcus turned sharply, eyes narrowing. "I hesitate because I still have a soul." Cassius chuckled. "Then your soul will betray you before I must." The words cut deeper than steel, and Marcus felt his chest tighten. Shadows stretched long as Cassius leaned in, whispering, "Your silence makes you the traitor they already believe you are." Marcus's fist clenched, yet he could not strike. Every glance, every word was a trap. Cassius rose, brushing dust from his cloak, his smile venom. "Loyalty is just another weapon. Remember that, my friend?" The room felt smaller, suffocating, as Marcus realized betrayal was no longer distant. It had walked into his circle of trust. The narrow streets groaned with silence as families locked doors and shuttered windows. Elena hurried through, clutching a basket, her cloak heavy with rain. Children peeked from behind curtains, wide-eyed and frightened. A mother pulled her son back inside, whispering prayers under her breath. Smoke drifted from distant fires, staining the sky with ash. Elena stopped at a crumbling archway, staring at the emptiness where laughter once echoed. Her voice trembled as she murmured, "The city no longer breathes, it only hides." A dog barked, sharp against the silence, then fell quiet. She pressed onward, her steps quick, though her heart sank with every turn. Hope seemed as absent as sunlight. Behind her, 2 soldiers marched past, their armor wet with rain, their expressions void. Elena's pulse raced, for every corner felt like the end of safety. In a candlelit chamber beneath the palace, the shadow figure emerged from silence. Cloaked in black, their face hidden, they spread a map across a table. "The Empire fractures from within," they muttered. A spy knelt beside them, whispering, "The rebels move faster than expected." The shadow figure's gloved hand traced routes across the parchment, eyes unreadable. "Let them think the city blind. We will strike when both sides bleed." Above, muffled shouts echoed, rebellion's noise shaking stone foundations. The shadow figure paused, listening, before murmuring, "History bends in darkness, not in halls of gold." Their voice was steady, almost cold. No allegiance revealed, no promise offered. Only silence followed as the candles flickered, shadows bending with each breath. The chamber seemed carved for secrets, and within it, destiny waited unseen, sharpening its blade. The council chamber rang with voices sharp as swords. Lucius pounded the table, roaring, "The rebels must be crushed before dawn." An older general growled, "Our men are weary. Another battle will break them." Cassius leaned back, smiling faintly. "Weary soldiers bleed best when pushed against walls," he said softly. Marcus stood at the edge, his voice firm. "They bleed because you see them as tools, not men." Silence cut across the room as all eyes turned to him. Lucius's glare seared while the emperor remained absent, his throne empty. Papers scattered across the table as the storm outside rattled shutters. Marcus's heart pounded, his words felt heavier than his armor. He thought, "Every truth spoken here sharpens the blade against me." Yet still, he held his ground. The chamber smelled of ink, sweat, and fear. The city gates shuddered as steel clashed, rebels pressing forward under banners soaked in rain. Soldiers roared, struggling to hold the line. Marcus rushed into the fray, sword flashing against the storm. Mud splashed up his legs as he parried, breath ragged. A comrade fell beside him, blood staining the cobblestones. Marcus shouted, "Stand firm!" His voice carried through the chaos, though fear gnawed at him. Rebels surged with fury, faces fierce with desperation. Above, lightning split the sky, illuminating terror and resolve in equal measure. Arrows hissed overhead, embedding in wooden gates. The world was noise, clashing blades, thunder, and screams. Marcus's arm ached with each swing, yet his will burned hotter than fear. The battle was not victory, but survival. Every heartbeat earned against steel and storm. The gates would not fall without a fight. Rain fell harder as Marcus knelt beside a fallen comrade, blood mixing with mud. The soldier's eyes glazed with final breath, whispering, "Tell them, I fought." Marcus gripped his hand, voice breaking, "You will not be forgotten." Lucius shouted orders nearby, his tone thunder, "Hold the line or die where you stand." Soldiers roared in desperation, but fear bled through their cries. Cassius lingered at the rear, eyes cold, murmuring to himself, "Every drop spilled makes tomorrow easier." Marcus rose, rage burning through sorrow, blade heavy but steady. The clash of steel roared as rebels surged again, faces fierce with hunger for justice. He screamed, "For him," and drove forward, grief transforming into defiance. Lightning tore across the sky, casting fire upon the battlefield. In that storm, Marcus felt both loss and purpose fuse like steel and flame. Smoke curled above burning villages as Marcus rode through, his face tight with rage. Children wept as mothers dragged them from ruined homes. Flames consumed timber, sparks rising into a blackened sky. Elena stumbled forward, clutching a child's hand, her voice hoarse. This was no battle, it was butchery. Marcus dismounted, mud splashing against his boots, eyes burning at the devastation. Cassius emerged from shadows, voice sharp as glass. "This is the Emperor's justice. Fear must be carved into every home." Marcus grabbed his cloak, growling, "You call this justice, it is rot." Cassius only smiled, pulling away. Villagers wailed in the distance, their lives reduced to ash. Marcus's knuckles whitened as he clenched his blade, whispering, "If justice dies, then so does the Empire." Ash fell like snow, each flake carrying the weight of guilt. In a deserted chamber, Cassius pressed a scroll into a rebel's hand. "The palace plans," he whispered, eyes darting to shadows. The rebel nodded, gripping the parchment tight. Marcus, hidden behind a cracked wall, listened, his heart pounding as betrayal unfolded before his eyes. Cassius continued, "Strike at the gates before dawn. The Emperor trusts too easily, and trust will kill him." The rebel smirked, vanishing into the dark. Marcus's fists trembled, rage boiling at the treachery. He muttered, "You've poisoned us all, Cassius." Yet fear froze him in place, for speaking truth meant his death. Cassius adjusted his cloak, eyes narrowing, as if sensing someone unseen. The chamber echoed with silence once more, secrets heavy in the air. Marcus's chest heaved as he realized the betrayer within was no rumor but a dagger, aimed at the Empire's heart. In the great hall, nobles quarreled as storm wangs rattled high windows. Lucius slammed his fist, declaring, "Only fear holds this empire together." One lord argued, "Fear has broken the people. Look around you." Cassius stood in the center, bowing slightly, his voice smooth. "Fear does not break them, it binds them. Let me show you." Murmurs rippled through the chamber as Marcus listened, standing apart, fists clenched. Elena carried trays among servants, her eyes sharp, catching every word. The hall reeked of arrogance and smoke from tall torches. Cassius spread his hands, smiling with calm malice. "Give me power, and I will silence every whisper." Marcus's jaw tightened as he whispered under his breath, "Power in his hands will bury us all." The Emperor's absence left the chamber, a battlefield of words sharper than swords. Night fell heavy as rebels stormed closer, their banners visible in lightning's flash. In the outer square, Elena guided villagers through alleys, whispering, "Stay quiet, stay alive." Rebels clashed with soldiers, steel sparking under moonlight. Marcus fought furiously, blades slick with rain and blood. He caught sight of Elena leading the frightened crowd, his chest tightening with fear for her safety. Lucius roared above the din, "Push them back or the gates fall." Cassius lingered at the rear once more, eyes glinting with cruel anticipation. A boy stumbled, nearly crushed, but Elena pulled him into her arms, shielding him from chaos. Marcus shouted her name, but his voice was drowned by thunder. The night was filled with screams, fire, and storm. Hope seemed fragile, yet still it flickered as long as breath remained. The courtyard was littered with bodies when Marcus cornered Cassius under the shadow of a crumbling arch. Rain-slicked stone glistened as Marcus shouted, "You fed them our blood." Cassius smiled, voice calm as venom. "I gave them what they already owned, the Empire's weakness." Marcus's blade hovered at his throat, hand trembling with fury. Cassius whispered, "Strike me, and you prove me right." Soldiers stumbled upon the scene, their eyes widening at the sight. Cassius lifted his arms mockingly. "Behold your hero, ready to kill his brother in arms." Marcus's chest tightened, betrayal choking him more than fear. Lucius arrived, suspicion blazing in his eyes, yet Cassius bowed as if innocent. The truth burned Marcus' tongue, yet silence weighed heavier. He lowered the blade, but the wound of betrayal cut deeper than steel ever could. In a hidden chamber beneath the palace, Elena uncovered a sealed chest. Inside, wrapped in silk, lay a crown and scrolls marked with royal seals. She gasped, "A child's name!" Her fingers trembled as she read. The boy she had saved was not a servant's son, but the Emperor's hidden heir. Her breath caught, heart pounding. She whispered, "This changes everything." Behind her, shadows shifted as the chamber door creaked. Ah! Marcus entered, eyes filled with exhaustion and curiosity. Elena turned, clutching the parchment. "The Empire has another bloodline." Marcus's gaze hardened, realization cutting through him. The storm above rumbled, as if echoing the truth. Secrets had the power to heal or destroy, and this one could split the Empire apart. Elena whispered again, "He is the hope they never expected." Marcus's silence spoke louder than thunder. The shadow figure emerged from the misty courtyard, cloak trailing like smoke. Marcus confronted them, voice sharp, "Whose side are you on?" The figure tilted their head, their voice steady. "Sides are illusions. I stand for survival." Elena stepped forward, clutching the parchment, her voice trembling. "Survival for who? The people or your secrets?" The shadow figure's gloved hand gestured toward the burning horizon. "The people live only if power shifts hands. I've kept your family safe while others plotted their deaths." Marcus froze, the revelation slicing through his anger. He whispered, "You protected them?" The figure nodded once, but their eyes remained unreadable. Cassius' voice rang from behind, mocking, truths wrapped in shadows. How fitting. The storm howled as loyalty tangled deeper than any blade. No one could tell whether the shadow figure was savior or executioner. In the throne hall, Cassius knelt before the Emperor, his voice honeyed. "Your enemies are within, not beyond the gates. Give me command, and I will root them out." The Emperor studied him, eyes narrowed. Lucius stood firm beside the throne, growling. "He poisons with words. Trust him, and we fall." Cassius turned, smiling faintly. "You fear me because I see what you cannot." Marcus stepped forward, chest tight, voice steady. "The Empire doesn't need another tyrant." Silence draped the hall as torches sputtered against damp stone. The Emperor rose, cloak dragging, his face unreadable. He said, "A kingdom is not ruled by whispers. It is ruled by fear." Cassius bowed deeper, satisfied, while Marcus's stomach twisted. Elena hid among servants, eyes brimming with dread. Power shifted like sand, and the Emperor seemed blind to the quicksand beneath him. Marcus walked alone through the war-torn courtyard, the storm finally easing to drizzle. His chest heaved, weighed by secrets, betrayal, and choices left unmade. Elena caught up, holding the parchment close. "What path do we take now?" she asked, her voice trembling. Marcus stared at the horizon, where smoke rose like black banners of fate. He whispered, "A path where loyalty is torn from both ends." The boy, the hidden heir, clutched Elena's hand, his eyes wide with fear and innocence. Marcus knelt to him, whispering, "You carry more than you know." The boy's silence was answer enough. Behind them, Cassius's laughter echoed faintly, drifting like a curse on the wind. Marcus stood again, steel in his gaze. "If the Empire must bleed," he said, "then let it be for something greater than fear." His words hung heavy, a vow to defy history's chains. The throne hall trembled with the weight of rebellion pressing at its gates. The emperor rose from his seat, voice booming, "Let them come. They will kneel in chains." His crown glinted in torchlight, though his face was shadowed with fury. Marcus stood before him, heart pounding, whispering, "The people no longer fear, they burn with rage." Lucius stepped forward, steel in his voice, "We still hold the palace, my lord. Give me your command." Cassius bowed deeply, his lips curved like a blade. "Fear has not left us, it only waits to be sharpened." Elena watched from the edge, her fingers gripping the hidden parchment like salvation. The hall echoed with tension, storm winds rattling stained glass windows. The emperor's gaze cut through them all as he declared, "History remembers victors, not beggars. We will drown rebellion in blood." His words sealed the fate of every soul in the chamber. The storm outside roared as Cassius stepped forward, bowing low yet with arrogance gleaming in his eyes. "My emperor," he said smoothly, "the throne demands a hand unafraid of fire. Let me wield it." Lucius spat, voice like iron, "You reach for power that is not yours." Cassius' smile never faltered as he turned to him. "Power belongs to the one who seizes it, not the one who guards it." Marcus's pulse quickened, watching the exchange, knowing betrayal was no longer whispered. It stood boldly in the hall. The emperor raised his hand, silencing them, his voice shaking with pride and rage. "This empire is mine until my last breath," he thundered. Elena's eyes darted between them, fear tightening her chest. Outside, the clash of steel grew louder, as if rebellion itself was listening. In that hall, loyalty and treachery clashed as fiercely as the storm beyond. Steel clashed in the courtyard as rebels poured through shattered gates. Among them, a figure broke ranks. The betrayer within, revealed at last. A soldier Marcus once trusted, raised a blade, not at rebels but at him. Marcus staggered back, gasping, "You?" The betrayer's face twisted with guilt and fear, whispering, "I had no choice. They held my family." Their blade struck, forcing Marcus to parry, sparks flying. Rage burned in his chest, not only at the blow but at the truth. Soldiers faltered, seeing loyalty splintered before their eyes. Lucius roared commands from the walls, while Cassius watched with cold amusement. Elena shielded the boy, pulling him into shadows. The storm above mirrored the chaos, lightning splitting the night. Betrayal cut deeper than steel, and Marcus felt the world crumble with every strike exchanged between former brothers. Chaos spilled into the palace halls, torches falling, shadows flickering on bloodied walls. Marcus fought with unrelenting fury, blade striking against rebels and traitors alike. Lucius thundered orders, his sword a beacon of discipline in the madness. Elena rushed villagers through secret passages, her cloak torn as she urged them onward. Cassius stalked the corridors, moving like a phantom, whispering poison into ears, turning fear into weapon. The emperor's banners burned, their golden threads curling in fire. Marcus shouted above the clash, "The palace is breaking!" Thunder cracked outside, the storm merging with screams within. Lucius's eyes blazed as he answered, "Then we fight in its ashes." Every step echoed with the weight of history collapsing. The palace, once eternal stone, now felt as fragile as glass under fire and steel. The emperor staggered in his throne room, blood staining his robe. His crown slipped, clattering on the steps as thunder rolled above. He gasped, voice breaking, "This throne was my destiny." Marcus entered, sword dripping, eyes heavy with sorrow. "Your destiny became their curse," he said, his voice trembling. Lucius knelt beside the emperor, grief masked with fury. Cassius leaned against a pillar, smirking faintly. History crowns victors, not corpses. The Emperor's eyes burned weakly, locking onto Marcus. "Will you carry it?" he rasped. Marcus shook his head, whispering, "No crown can mend what you've broken." Elena stood in the shadows, clutching the boy close, his eyes wide with silent understanding. Lightning split the sky as the Emperor fell still, silence crushing the hall. The rain had ended, not with triumph, but with the slow echo of loss. The palace lay silent after the storm, its halls heavy with smoke and ash. Marcus walked slowly, armor battered, footsteps echoing against the broken stone. Fallen banners draped across the floor, their golden threads blackened. He whispered, "It's over, yet nothing feels won." Lucius leaned against a shattered column, his face pale with grief. "We stood, but the price was everything," he muttered. Elena emerged from the shadows, the boy clinging to her cloak, his wide eyes mirroring the kingdom's ruin. Cassius strolled past, unmarked, his smirk a reminder that victory was never pure. The storm had passed, but rain still dripped through cracked ceilings. The silence was louder than battle, pressing on every soul left standing. Marcus closed his eyes, and for the first time, he felt the weight not of duty, but of loss. In the outer courtyard, bodies lay scattered beneath the pale sky. Survivors huddled together, their faces hollow, their clothes torn. Elena guided villagers through the gates, her voice soft, "The city needs your hands now, not your fear." Marcus stood watch, his blade sheathed at last, though his eyes held no rest. Lucius limped forward, muttering, "We saved stones, not souls." The boy clutched Elena's hand tighter, his silence heavier than words. Cassius leaned against the gate, murmuring, "Survival is victory enough." Marcus's head turned sharply, but he said nothing, for truth had no place in his mouth. Smoke rose from distant homes, curling into the morning light like prayers unanswered. The sound of weeping filled the air, fragile against the ruins. The rebellion had ended, but peace was nowhere to be found. Marcus walked alone through the palace library, its shelves shattered, scrolls scattered across the floor. Dust floated in beams of morning light, illuminating fragments of history. He picked up a blood-stained scroll, words blurred by rain and war. "This was knowledge, not power," he whispered. Elena entered quietly, setting the boy down beside a fallen chair. She said softly, "Books can be rewritten, but lives cannot." Marcus nodded, eyes heavy with truth. Lucius appeared in the doorway, his armor cracked, voice hoarse. "We are not victors, we are survivors." The boy touched a torn manuscript, staring silently, as if trying to read a story older than himself. The silence was deep, sacred even, broken only by the creak of burned wood. Marcus felt the Empire's ghost in every page, a reminder that memory was as fragile as flame. At dusk, Marcus stood at a grave marked by a blood-stained letter pressed under stone. He knelt, fingers brushing the parchment, whispering, "I should have saved you." The air was still, broken only by distant crows. Elena stood behind him, the boy clutching her hand, her voice trembling. "The dead will not return, but we must carry them." Lucius bowed his head, silent for once, his eyes shadowed with regret. Cassius approached, his smile faded. Voice low, "History forgets names quicker than blood dries." Marcus rose, jaw tight, answering, "History remembers in silence too." The graveyard stretched endlessly, torches flickering like fragile stars in the encroaching night. The boy bent, placing a small stone atop the grave, his innocence the only offering left untainted. The wind carried their silence away, like a secret whispered to eternity. Smoke drifted above the city as Marcus walked alone through the ruined gates, his steps slow, his cloak heavy with ash. Behind him, the palace loomed shattered, its towers broken against the sky. Elena watched from afar, her hand resting on the boy's shoulder. Lucius remained near the walls, silent, his face a mask of sorrow. Cassius vanished into the crowd, his shadow lingering like a curse. Marcus whispered, "No crown, no throne, no victor, only silence. His eyes were fixed on the horizon, where the sun broke through faintly, bleeding light across the sky. He walked into the smoke, his figure fading with every step. The boy's voice rose softly. "Will he return?" Elena's answer was lost to the wind. The story ended not with triumph, but with a lone man vanishing into history's silence.